Hey everybody, this is Bricks and Blocks Gaming. I'm Alan, and in this video for the game of Stargrave, I'll be concluding my playthrough of the Last Prospector supplement with the 10th and final battle for this campaign, as my crews face off in the final Showdown scenario. I'll show you the crews, then get to the bricks and blocks of this battle video. Captain Errooo is now level 24, carrying his Flamethrower of +1 damage, his rapid fire, a knife, and wearing heavy armor. And his first mate Sergeant Ruga is now level 11. He's wearing his combat armor once again, as well as his swift suit, giving him a move of 7, carrying picks, a deck, and a medkit. The Mercenaries of the Iron Golem are their Burner, their Pathfinder with a shotgun, their Lady Pathfinder carrying their grapple gun and a carbine, Trooper with a carbine, Daughter Ryla the gunslinger, their Robot, the Sentry with a shotgun, a now upgraded Codebreaker fitted with a Force Shield bracelet, and their Repairbot that comes with their ship's charging bay. And they have their Sentry with a shotgun. Captain Smada is now level 23 and is wearing light armor and carrying his hand weapon, picks, a deck, a medkit, and a pistol. And his first mate Blinky is level 9, carrying his flamethrower, knife, picks, a deck, and he's wearing heavy armor. The crime gang of the Negator consists of their Pathfinder with a shotgun, Robot Striker, who's narrowly avoided destruction in both of the last two battles, Bruiser, Medic, the Shangri-La that's joined due to their ship upgrades, Sniper with a shotgun of +1 damage, their new Gunner replacing the fallen Engineer, their Hacker, and Trophy Taker with a shotgun with a range of 16 inches. Before the start of this battle, the crews get to use all the investigation points they've earned throughout the campaign. They can hire soldiers in addition to their normal crew, purchase healing surges that can be used at the start of a turn to restore 3 health to a soldier, buy rerolls that can be used during the battle, and gain some initiative bonuses. The Iron Golem has used their points to recruit a Sentry with a carbine and a Trooper with a shotgun, purchase 3 healing surges to aid their soldiers, and 1 reroll. The Negator has recruited 2 Sentries with shotguns, purchased 1 healing surge, and 2 rerolls. And neither team bothered with the initiative boost. And a spoiler alert, neither team ever makes use of their rerolls. After traveling all around the Honorab system, the crews of the Iron Golem and the Negator have finally tracked down the Last Prospector. He is on the small dwarf planet that's in the system, and they've landed, and their sensors have indicated that they've needed to go underground, so they're in this cavern here. It's recommended this battle should be played on at least a 3-foot by 3-foot table, if not a 4-foot by 4-foot table. And since I don't have a 4-foot by 4-foot table, I'm going to be using regular measuring devices this game instead of my usual Lego-themed measuring devices. So that'll make my table essentially 40 inches by 40 inches instead of what's essentially 32 by 32, which I usually play on. The setup for the table calls for a hibernation pod to be placed right in the center of the table, and the Last Prospector is placed inside of that. And then around that, there are supposed to be 6 mirrors or little doorways that are placed 8 inches from there. And then there are 4 pylons that are placed another 4 inches away from all of those. And then the rest of the setup calls for random machinery or alien equipment and things, and then just to also make it look like a cavern. Each player is instructed to place 5 cultists. I don't really have cultists, so we just went with my tried and true Stormtrooper pirates, and they have the stats of pirate troopers. That's why I went ahead and went with that. And it's kind of weird in this scenario. 5 of these pirates are controlled by one team, and 5 are controlled by the other team. And it doesn't say that they use them as directed in the enemy AI sections in the book, but it says they control them, which means they should get to pick who they shoot at, which figures they run towards, and so they're almost like they're members of each crew. And it's even stated twice in the scenario rules that they are controlled by the player. The scenario is split into 3 stages, and during the first stage, the goals of the players are to destroy one of these pylons. Currently, there's an energy field that connects each one of these pylons that essentially stops anything from moving in or out of this squared area. No line of sight can be drawn through the area. And so, to take down one of these pylons, they can either attack them in melee combat or shoot at them. But either way, they have +0 fight, 24 armor, but only 1 health. And as soon as one of those pylons is destroyed, we'll go on to phase 2, which I'll explain when we get there. And since this dwarf planet was thought to be uninhabited by all the local factions, there are no faction bonuses given for any of the teams in this scenario. But I will say that the goal for this scenario is to eventually get to the middle of the board to unlock this hibernation chamber and rescue the Last Prospector. And because the Prospector is there in the middle, there is no central loot for this battle. Instead, 2 loot tokens are placed outside of the pylons. So there's a data loot there, and there's a data loot on the other side as well. And then there's 4 loot placed inside of this area. So we have physical loot tokens there, 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 and right down here. Erroo's team is set up on the left side of the board. Errooo failed all 3 of his before game powers. However, Sergeant Ruga down here did succeed on Armoury, so that will let him wear his combat armor without having to pay the 50 credits to wear that. And Captain Smada's team is set up on the other side of the board, and they, as usual, have no before game powers. Initiative for the first round goes to Errooo. So to start out the game, Captain Errooo will activate with the trooper that's next to him, and he'll have the trooper start out by moving 5 inches up here, and from there he'll take a wide open hasty shot against that pirate trooper over there, +3 against +3, and he fails with a 10 against 13. And next, Captain Errooo will attempt Adrenaline Surge. Needing a 7, he gets that. And now he will power move and move over to the other side of this trooper. And from there, he'll take his bonus action to make a hasty flamethrower shot at this pylon. He has a +6 to its +1 for hasty shot. The thing has an armor of 24, and that misses regardless. And then we'll jump over to Captain Smada's turn. He is going to activate with his sniper, and he'll start out by having his sniper take a +4 shot at this pylon against +0. And he does get a 20 to 16. However, even with the bonus damage that advanced shotgun deals, it only gets a total of 22 against 24 armor, so no damage. The sniper will then move forward 6 inches into cover, and then Captain Smada will attempt inspiring on the bruiser, needing just an 8, and he fails that miserably. Smada will then move and power move up next to his sniper. And then we'll go over to the first mate phase, and Sergeant Ruga will activate with all 3 of these soldiers around him. He'll start by having this Pathfinder fire his shotgun at that trooper. It's a +3 shot against +2 defense, and with a 22 and +1 damage against 11 armor, that deals exactly the 12 damage needed to take him down. And then the Pathfinder is going to run up next to this rock. And then Sergeant Ruga is going to attempt to use coordinated fire on their gunslinger. Needing a 9, he gets that. He will then power move and move up next to this crate. And then the gunslinger, now with +5 shoot, will take a shot at this pylon with her dual-wielding pistols. Against +0, she gets just a 17 to 18, so still that pylon stands. She will then just advance slightly up the battlefield, and then their trooper here with the shotgun is going to run over here into some cover, and 12 inches for his shotgun range can just barely reach that trooper down there. It's a hasty shot, and there's 1 piece of intervening terrain, so it's a +3 against +4, and he misses with a 7 to 23. Moving to the other side of the table, Blinky down here is going to activate with their striker, their sentry, and their new gunner. They'll start out with their gunner taking a +3 wide open shot at this +2 trooper. And he ends up missing because that is a critical defense. The soldier will then just advance a little bit up the battlefield. And then the sentry will fire his shotgun, +2 against +2. And he gets just an 11. It does deal +1 damage, so 1 point of damage to that trooper. This sentry will then run up here. Then the striker will double move into combat with the trooper. And then Blinky is going to attempt to transport their hacker. Needing an 11, he will exert for 1 and take 1 strain damage. So that will move the hacker 6 inches right up to here. Then Blinky will power move and move over here next to the gunner. And then going to the soldier phase, Errooo's team will start out with their sentry right here, and he can actually see right down here to this trooper here. Since he's got a carbine, that trooper is in range with no intervening terrain. So that makes it a +2 against +2, and he gets a 12, which deals 1 point of damage to the trooper. The sentry will then move 5 inches up here. Then they'll have this sentry run 5 inches over here to take a hasty shot with intervening terrain at the pirate. +2 shoot against +4 defense, and that misses. Then they'll have their other sentry run to right here and also attempt to shoot him. Once again, +2 shoot against +4 defense, and another miss. Then they'll have their chiseler robot double move right up here into heavy cover. And then they'll have their carbine carrying Pathfinder run over here. And she will take a shot, hasty shot, +3 against +3. And she hits with a 22 against 11 armor. So that deals 11 damage to him, and he was already down to 11 health. So he goes down. And then to finish off their soldier phase, they'll have their burner double move 7.5 inches up here. And then their Repairbot will follow behind, also 7.5 inches. And then moving over to Captain Smada's soldier phase, they'll start with having their trophy taker run 6 inches over here behind his captain. And then he will take a hasty shot over here at this trooper. Trophy takers get a +1 when attacking uncontrolled creatures, putting him at +4 against +3, and with a 22 and +1 damage for a shotgun, that deals 12 damage. So another pirate goes down, and then they're going to have their Pathfinder take a shotgun shot at this pylon. He needs a natural 20 to actually damage it. +3 against +0, and that misses. He will then move 7 inches up here past the sniper. And then their sentry will fire his shotgun at the pylon. +2 against +0, needing a natural 20, and fails. And lastly, the Shangri-La and the Bruiser will both double move around here. The Bruiser will take cover behind this rock, and the Shangri-La will come over here so that he's out of line of sight of this trooper. And then to finish off their soldier phase, they'll have their hacker double move 9 inches up here into cover, coming close to that data loot. And then this medic is going to advance up the board. He'll move right up here, not against this because he doesn't want to get into combat with that, but just right there so he's got some intervening terrain in front of him. And now to the creature phase. With the troopers that are set up on the board, all of them that started on this side of the table are actually controlled by Errooo, and all of the troopers that start on this side of the table are controlled by Smada. And the 4 that are in here in the middle, they can't draw a line of sight to anybody outside of this area, so I'm just going to say they'll stay there until the center area is opened up. So we'll start out with having this pirate here run 6 inches off to this way. Since they're controlled by the players, they'll make some smarter moves and actions than they normally would. And from right there, he can take a wide open shot. Hasty, though, at this Shangri-La. So that's a +2 against +3 defense. And that hits with a 17 against 5. So that deals 7 damage and wounds the Shangri-La, who has 5 health remaining. And then we'll go back to this trooper, who's controlled by Smada. So he will come over here, where he's got a clear shot at the gunslinger and fire, +2 against +4 for hasty shot. And that ends up hitting with a 19 against just 9. So that deals 9 damage, stunning her and leaving another figure at just 5 health. And then we'll go back here, where this pirate is going to attack the striker at +2 against +5. And the striker ends up winning that with a 23 that deals +1 damage and ignores armor. And 15 damage takes down the trooper. Initiative for the next round goes to Smada. To start out the next turn, Captain Smada will activate with the Trophy Taker, the Sniper, and the Pathfinder. He'll start with having the Pathfinder move 7 inches over here. His shotgun was just out of range to reach this trooper, but from there he will fire, +3 against +3 for hasty shot. And that misses with a 10 against 22. Next, Captain Smada will move and then power move right over here and attempt once again to inspire his bruiser. Needing an 8, he fails, he'll go ahead and exert for 2. Then their sniper will take a +4 shot against this pylon. Against +0, and it gets a critical defense. He'll then take a 6-inch move over to here, and then their trophy taker will fire his shotgun at the pylon as well. He's a +3 against +0, needing a natural 20, and he fails. He will then run up here next to his team, 6 inches. Moving to Errooo's turn back here, behind this rock outcropping, he is going to start out by moving over here to where he's got a straight shot with his flamethrower, and he will fire at this pylon. +6 against +1 hasty shot. He gets a 21 with +3 damage with his flamethrower, which is only 24, which does not get past the thing's armor. He has 2 actions this turn because of his adrenaline surge, so he will fire again and misses. And then we'll go to the first mate phase, where Blinky down here will attempt to activate the smash and grab ability so that he can carry physical loot easier, activating on an 11, and he'll just let that fail. And then he will just power move and move over here behind the medic. And then we'll go to Sergeant Ruga's turn, who's hanging out over here behind this wall. And he will start out by using coordinated fire on this trooper with the shotgun. Needing a 9, he gets that. He will then power move and move around Errooo over here, waiting to get in here as soon as one of these pylons is destroyed. And now to the soldier phase. This sentry here will fire his shotgun, +2 against +0 at this pylon. And he misses with a 14 against 10. Technically he hit it, he just didn't get past its armor. Then he will move 5 inches over to here. And then we'll go to the back, where this other sentry will fire his shotgun at this pylon over here. +2 against +0, and that also does not get past the armor. He will then run up here next to the striker. And then their gunner is going to run over here and fire his rapid fire at this pylon. +3 against +1 hasty shot. He gets a 22 with +2 damage, but that is only 24, so again does not get past the thing's armor. Then the striker is going to run 10.5 inches right up to here, and the hacker will run right behind him, using the striker as a shield, and he'll try to hack into this. +8 needing a 14, and he unlocks that. So this data loot shows up right there in front of the hacker. And then lastly, they're going to have their medic run up here in front of this rock. Then to Errooo's soldiers, they'll start out with having their stunned gunslinger fire a +5 shot at this pylon against +0. And that is a 24, but she deals +1 damage, so finally they've destroyed a pylon. So I'll say that she shot this orb and blew this up, and that's what was creating this energy field. So without that, the energy field collapses, and figures can now run into that area. And then she was stunned, so that was her only action. And then they'll have this trooper here with his shotgun and +4 shoot, fire at that trooper back there with a +2 defense, and with an 11 to 5 that deals 1 point of damage with that shotgun. The trooper will then run up here and use this pylon for cover. Since that orb has been destroyed, I'll say that he's not in combat with that anymore. And then this Pathfinder can move 7.5 inches into contact with this physical loot, and he will attempt to open it with his +2 will. Needing a 14, he fails. And then this trooper here will run over here where the Pathfinder just was, and he'll take a wide open shot at that trooper. That's a +4 against +3 hasty shot, and that wins with a 17 against 9. And that was actually only a +3, so that deals 5 damage, leaving him down at 6 health. And then they're going to have their Chiseler robot run in here now that this energy field is unlocked, and he will try to unlock this physical loot. And he's actually a code breaker, so he's got a +8, needing a 14, and misses with a 13 total. And then the burner is going to run up here into cover, and with his flamethrower can just barely reach this trooper. It's a +2 against +3 hasty shot, and he hits that with a 15 against 13. So that negates this pirate's armor and deals +2 damage for a total of 8 damage, wounding and stunning him, leaving him with 4 health. And then they're going to have this sentry here fire his carbine down here, +2 against +2. And he misses that with a 6 to a 16. The sentry will then move up here near Ruga. This Repairbot will double move 7.5 inches up here. And this Pathfinder will move 7 inches over here, where she will shoot at that trooper. +3 against +3 for hasty shot. And she gets a 12 to 5, so she deals 1 damage. And I think that's the 4th trooper this battle that's had their first damage be just 1 damage that they received. But we'll go ahead and finish out the soldier phase with these 2 sentries, both running up 7.5 inches. The robot can get there, and then the alien guy can get to right there. And I just remembered I forgot to move a couple of Smada's soldiers, so I'll go ahead and do that now. It doesn't really change anything when this happens, but this bruiser will run around here and can just barely get into combat on a double move, and then this Shangri-La will shake off his stun and run 6 inches this way. And then for the creature phase, we'll go ahead and have this trooper attack this bruiser. The pirate's a +2 against +3, and the bruiser wins with an 18, which deals 7 damage to this pirate. And then we'll go ahead and finish with the troopers that Errooo is controlling. He'll have this trooper here run over here and fire his carbine at this gunner. It's a hasty shot, so the gunner has +4 defense against +2 shoot. And that shot misses. And then the other trooper will run up here and also fire. Again, +2 shoot against +4 defense. And that one lands with a 13 against an 11 and deals 2 points of damage against the gunner. We'll then move to the pirates that Smada is controlling. And this one here with the red arms will stand up from his stun and fire down here at Daughter Ryla. +2 against +3 defense, and that does hit with a 17 against 10 armor. And I should have used one of those healing surges I have on her, because she only had 5 health left and she took 7 damage, which means she goes down. She would have been left at 1 health if she had used that healing surge. But it's too late for that now. And then this trooper here will fire his carbine wide open at this Pathfinder. +2 against +3 defense, and that hits with a 13 to 10, and that deals 3 damage to the Pathfinder. It will then run over here by this mirror for cover. Then this trooper will stand up from his stun, and he'll fire his carbine at this case cracker. +2 shoot against +3 defense, and the case cracker defends with a 16 against 11. Initiative for the next round goes to Errooo this time. Now when that pylon was damaged and the energy field was destroyed, the battle progresses to stage 2, at which point, at the start of each turn, one random mirror will produce a guardian of light that will come out of it, and these guys are pretty dangerous. They have +4 fight and 20 health. They also have a shooting attack. Any damage dealt to them except for by void blades is reduced by half. They can't be wounded, stunned, or receive critical hits. And any figure that activates while in combat with them suffers 2 points of damage. The one benefit is every point of damage they deals an equal amount of damage back to themselves. And they're described as being apparently composed of pure energy, though they have roughly a humanoid shape, but they almost seem two-dimensional. I don't have anything really good to represent these, so I'm using these skeletons without heads, and I rolled for it to randomly appear in front of this mirror here. And for other start of the turn activities, Erroo's team will choose to use one of their healing surges on their Pathfinder to bring him back up to 14 health. And then Errooo is going to activate by himself. He will just move up here and attempt Adrenaline Surge. Needing a 7, he will exert for 3 and take 2 points of strain damage. And since he successfully used that, he gets a bonus action this turn, so he will fire his Flamethrower down here at these two. The hacker does have light cover where he is, so the hacker is +3 against +6, and that is a 25 to 19 with +2 damage and -1 armor. That easily takes down the hacker. Then against the striker, who has a defense of 6 against shooting attacks, and that is a critical hit. And if I did my math right, that deals 22 points of damage with all the Flamethrower modifications, which just completely fries that robot's circuitry. And after that devastating blow to Smada's troops, we'll go to Smada's activation, and he will activate with the Pathfinder and the Sniper. He'll start with having the Sniper double move into contact with this data loot, and then the Pathfinder will single move over here into contact with this physical loot and attempt to unlock it with his +3 will. Needing a 14, he fails miserably. Smada will then move 6 inches, 5 inches this way and attempt to inspire the Pathfinder. Activating on an 8, gets it. And with that successfully being used, he'll then power move over here and try to help this sniper break into this data loot. And then going to Sergeant Ruga's turn, he is going to power move, will move and then power move up here into contact with this hibernation chamber, and he is going to attempt to use a wall of force over here. He needs a 12 for this, and he's going to have to let that fail. And with that failing, that unfortunately means that Errooo might end up taking a wide open shot from some of Smada's men here. But as tempting as that is for Blinky and his small crew of men over here, he is more concerned about this Guardian of Light doing something. So he's going to activate with this gunner, and the gunner is going to use both actions to fire at both the Guardian of Light and this pirate. That's a +3 against +4 for the Guardian of Light, and that hits with a 19 and +2 damage. So that deals 11 points of damage, and with the 10 armor that those Guardians of Light have, that leaves him with just 9 health remaining. And then at this trooper here, he does have light cover, actually heavy cover right there, which bumps him up to a +6 against +3, and the trooper easily defends that. The gunner will then move over here, and then Blinky is going to come over here and fire his Flamethrower at both of these two figures. +2 hasty shot against the Guardian of Light for +5. And that would be a critical hit, except they are immune to critical hits, but the 22 still beats the 20 of the Guardian of Light. And that also deals +2 damage, so that's 14 damage and that just simply turns this thing into a pile of ash. And then against the trooper who has no cover, the hasty shot gives him +3 defense, but he ends up getting hit with a 16 with +2 damage that reduces the armor by 2. So that deals 9 damage, leaving him stunned and wounded with just 3 health left. And then we'll go to the soldier phase, and we'll start out with this Pathfinder over here, trying to unlock this physical loot. With just his +2 will, gets an 8 and fails. He will then move into combat with this pirate, and so will this sentry, who will attack with support. +5 against +2, and that misses with a 12 against 14. That sentry takes 2 points of damage because those pirates carry knives. And normally uncontrolled creatures will always choose to stay in combat, but these creatures are being controlled by the other player, so he'll actually push this sentry out of combat. And then this Lady Pathfinder is going to see what she can do, so she'll run in. Also +5 against +2. And this enemy pirate is quite the beast, getting a 19 against 17 and dealing 9 damage to her. And she will also get pushed out of combat. And then we'll go to the burner here, who will lay down a line of fire at this trooper. +2 against +2, and that is defended. The burner will just stand his ground, and then this codebreaker will try once again to break into this physical loot with a +8, and gets exactly the 14 needed to unlock that. He'll then pick up his spoils for free and start heading off the board, 3 inches on a half move, and then this sentry is going to run up here behind some cover and fire a hasty shotgun blast at that pirate. +2 against +3 defense, and that time it hits its mark with a 21 against 19. And I forgot that this trooper was actually wounded, so he should have had some lower results on his die rolls, but that doesn't really matter. He is dead anyway. And then this Repairbot is going to come out here, basically run out into the open to attract any Guardians of Light that might show up to it rather than to Ruga or somebody else important. And then this sentry over here is going to run right over here by this pylon, and he'll fire his shotgun at Captain Smada. It's hasty, and Smada has intervening terrain, so he's at +8 against +2. And the sentry's shotgun jams on that. And to remind me that he's jammed, I'll just remove his shotgun from him for now. And then we will go back here, where this trooper with the carbine will fire a +3 shot at the +2 red-armed pirate. And he doesn't do anything with a 9 against a 4. The trooper will then run 5 inches over here, and then the shotgun-wielding trooper that's got the coordinated fire will run over here, taking some cover and firing his shotgun at that trooper. It's hasty, so it's a +4 against +3, and that is a total of 10 with +1 damage, so it doesn't get past the armor. And then to Smada's soldier phase, they'll start with having this sentry here run 7.5 inches on his double move to right there, and then this medic is actually going to come over here. He can get behind this physical loot, so he's actually kind of climbed up this a little bit, and he will try to unlock that with his +3 will, needing a 14, and he unlocks that. So that medic picks up this physical loot token, and then they're going to have their trophy taker down here. He has the shotgun with a 16-inch range, and this stunned trooper is just within 16 inches. But the pirate is also wounded, so he's just a +2 against +4 shoot, but he gets a critical defense. The trophy taker will then run 6 inches around here next to the Pathfinder. He can't quite get into contact with that physical loot. And then this sentry will run over here. He has to get way out here to be able to reach here with his 12 inches, and he'll fire. It's a hasty shot, so it's going to be a +2 against +3 for the stunned and wounded pirate. And that ends up missing with a 5 against 11. And then right up front, this Shangri-La is going to run into combat with this pirate and attack with support. He's a +4 against +2. And I guess he wins, but doesn't do anything. Then the bruiser that's right there is going to attack. He's a +5 against +2. And he ends up winning, getting a 17, dealing 6 points of damage. And that pirate only had 5 health remaining, so he goes down. And then this bruiser will run 6 inches over here, next to his captain. Next we'll go to the creature phase. We'll go ahead and start with this trooper, firing his carbine wide open at Blinky, +2 against +4. And that ends up hitting him with a 16 against 12. So he takes 5 points of damage and is stunned. And this trooper here will stand up from his stun. Where he's at, he can't see the gunner, but he can see the stunned Blinky, so he'll fire. He's wounded, so he's a +0 to shoot against the +6 stunned Blinky. And that ends up missing with a 7 to a 12. And then over here, this pirate will attack this Pathfinder, +2 against +3. And the Pathfinder wins with an 18 to an 8. That deals 8 damage to the pirate and wounds him, leaving him with 3 health remaining. And the Pathfinder will push him out of combat, which I believe will allow these other two to snap into combat, since they would be base to base. And then to the last pirate back here, he could shoot at this trooper, but instead he is going to move around here into some cover and fire a hasty shot at Errooo. That bumps Errooo up to a +5 against +2, and he defends with a 23 against 17. And I just realized this Guardian of Light that was defeated over here actually should not have been defeated. I forgot one other thing about them is that they take half damage from all attacks. So it would have taken 5 damage from the first attack and 7 from the second. So it's at 8 health. And I'll go ahead and have it activate here. It'll fire a shooting attack at the closest enemy, which is the gunner. That's a +3 against +3, and the gunner defends that. And at the start of the next turn, another Guardian of Light appears, and it rolled to show up at this doorway or portal. And since there are crew members inside this inner circle, it'll appear on this side instead of the outside of that portal. Initiative for the next turn goes just barely to Errooo. Now, both teams would like to use their healing surges on their commanders. However, the description specifically states it's only soldiers that can be healed with the healing surges. So Smada will choose to hang on to his healing surge. However, the crew of the Iron Golem will go ahead and spend another healing surge, this time on the Lady Pathfinder, to bring her from 5 health up to 8. And then we'll go ahead over to Erroo's turn. He is going to activate by himself, and he is going to start out by using his movement action to move right over here in contact with both this loot and the Pathfinder. And he'll start out by using an action to unlock the loot with +3 will. And he gets a 13, needing a 14. And then Errooo will attempt to fling this Pathfinder over here next to the hibernation chamber. He only needs a 7, and he succeeds. So that will move this Pathfinder 6 inches over here and leave him stunned. And then Errooo will power move back over here to the other side of this physical loot, keeping in cover, but being where he can see that trooper over there. And then he will fire for his extra action from his adrenaline surge. This is a +6 with his flamethrower against +3 for hasty shot. And he hits that with a 22 with +2 damage that ignores armor. So that easily takes down the pirate that only had 6 health remaining. And then we'll go to Captain Smada's turn. He is going to activate up here with the sniper and the bruiser. He'll start with having his bruiser double move 9 inches over here, trying to get to this sentry or possibly stop this robot from fleeing with this physical loot. Then the sniper is going to just climb over this data loot up here. He wants to be in better cover, but he needs to be kind of exposed there so he can just barely reach 12 inches down here to Sergeant Ruga with his shotgun. It's a hasty shot, but he's +4 against Ruga's +7 defense. And that is a miss with a 12 against 22. And with no luck on that shot, Captain Smada is going to move over to this side of this data loot and use his deck to try to unlock this. Combined with his will, he's got a +10 maximum bonus, and that easily unlocks. So this data loot pops up here, and Smada can potentially pick that up next turn. Then we'll go to Sergeant Ruga's activation. He'll activate with the stunned Pathfinder. The Pathfinder is going to stand up and try to hack his way into this hibernation chamber. It has a target number of 20 to unlock. He's got just a +2 and fails. And then Sergeant Ruga will attempt to unlock it, and you can use either decks or picks you're carrying to do so, and Ruga's carrying both, so he's a +8, and he gets exactly the 20 he needs to unlock that. So this opens up, revealing the Last Prospector kind of jammed in here. So even though I'm using a figure to represent the Prospector, the rules say you don't have to, and the figure actually doesn't even have any stats. It just says that they count as a physical loot token. So I'm assuming that means that I can immediately pick him up. I'm essentially just trying to carry him or escort him off the table. So Ruga will go ahead and grab him, and then he can move 7 inches. Actually, no, he can't. He can only move 3.5, carrying a physical loot. So they'll move to right there. And then moving to Blinky's turn, he will stand up from his stun, and he's going to fire his Flamethrower once again at both of these two. He's a +2, and against the Guardian of Light, it's a +4. And he misses with a 20 against 22. Then against the Trooper does have light cover, so he is a +4 against +2 shoot, and he blocks that as well. Now going to the soldier phase for the crew of the Iron Golem, they'll have their sentry here attack this wounded pirate with support. So he's a +5 against +0, but the pirate ends up winning that. So the pirate pulls out his knife and stabs the squid guy for a total of 7 damage, bringing him down to 5 health. He could push the squid out of combat, but the squid would probably just run right back in. So next we'll have the Pathfinder attack with support. Also a +5 against +0. She does better, but still does no damage. She will go ahead and push herself out of combat though, and then run over here next to this physical loot with her captain. And then we'll have this trooper back here with the shotgun. He is just going to come around here and take a shot at this sentry. He's got light cover. It's a +4 hasty shot, so it's a +5 defense, and it is defended. And then their other trooper here, he's better known for shooting, but he's going to come up here and try to unlock this loot with his +0 will, needing a 14, and he gets it. Alright, so he will be carrying that loot very slowly with his 5 movement next turn. And then for their other soldiers, this Repairbot is going to double move into contact with the sniper to prevent him from shooting at anybody. Their burner is going to double move over here to be a human shield for Ruga. And then their code case cracker here is going to move over here 4.5 inches over to here. Then their sentry here, if he moves at all, he's going to end up in combat with this Guardian of Light, but he can't really see him where he's at, so he's just going to go ahead and move into combat. And he's going to choose not to attack. He just wants to kind of tie up that thing so it doesn't attack anybody else. And it does deal searing damage to characters that activate while in combat with it, so that sentry won't take damage until his next activation. And then lastly, their sentry will unjam his shotgun and fire at this bruiser. +2 shot against +4 defense, and that ends up getting a 14 to 13. So that hits. Being a shotgun, that deals +1 damage, so that's 4 total damage, which would stun the bruiser. But then we'll go ahead and go to their soldier phase, so he'll get up from his stun and then just single move into combat with the sentry. Then they'll have their Shangri-La. He will double move 9 inches over here behind that rock. Then this Pathfinder over here is going to leave this physical loot alone and instead run over here And from right there, he will lob a grenade right over here between the burner and Ruga, trying to take Ruga down with a grenade like he did last battle. He can see the location, but it's hasty, so he's got a total of +4 to land it where he wants it. Needing a 12, he gets more than he needs. Against the burner, that's a +3 against +3, and that does hit with a 14 against 11 armor, dealing 3 points of damage. And then against Sergeant Ruga, he is a +6 against +3, and he ends up defending that with a 14 to 10. So not quite the impact that Pathfinder was hoping for. Then this trophy taker is going to fire his shotgun. He can't see Sergeant Ruga through this burner, so he'll just fire at the burner. It's a +3 against +3, and he hits with a 22 and +1 damage. So that is 12 damage, and that finishes off the burner. And then the trophy taker is just going to run up here, or take one step rather, into contact with this physical loot token. And then we're going to come back here to this gunner. He is going to move in front of the first mate of their ship, and then he's going to fire his rapid fire, trying to hit both of them. It's a +3 shot, and the trooper is +3 for hasty, and that misses. Then against the Guardian of Light, +3 against +5 for hasty, and he hits with a 20 against 6. There's no damage bonus with the rapid fire if it's fired at multiple targets, so that deals 10 damage, but it's reduced to half, so only 5 damage, and that Guardian still has 3 health remaining. Then their medic back here, who's carrying this physical loot, is going to run 3.5 inches over here, and then make his second move around behind this crystalline rock outcropping. And then this sentry here is going to fire his shotgun at that trooper, and I guess that's a wide open shot. +2 against +3 defense, and the shotgun blast misses, well, hits, but is blocked there. And then he's going to totally disregard his life and just run up here into contact with this data loot to try to pick that up next turn. And then speaking of sentries, their other sentry over here, for their last soldier, he is just going to double move 7.5 inches into contact with this pirate to make sure he doesn't shoot their Pathfinder in the back. And then we'll go ahead and go to the pirate phase, the creature phase, and then he will go ahead and attack the sentry with a +2 against +3 defense. And the sentry ends up winning with a total of 17 to 8, dealing 6 points of damage. And then we'll go ahead and have this trooper fire his carbine at the gunner, +0 against +3 defense. And the gunner defends that. Then the Guardian of Light will shoot a +3 energy beam at the +3 gunner. And that hits with a 19 against 11 armor. That deals 8 points of damage to him. That reduces him to 4 health, stunning and wounding him. However, that 8 points of damage that he dealt, the Guardians of Light also receive as much damage as they deal. So it takes 8 points of damage, which is enough to take him down. But Smada's team does not get credit for taking one down as far as end of the game experience points count. And then we'll have the other Guardian of Light go ahead and attack Errooo's sentry. It's got +4 against +3, and it hits with a 19 against 13. So that deals 8 damage to both the sentry and to itself. And then we'll go over here to this trooper who will attack. He's a +0 against +3. And the sentry wins with a 9 against 5. And he'll go ahead and push himself out of combat. And at the end of the turn, once this hibernation chamber has been broken into, this whole cavern starts to collapse, leading to falling rock that's going to hit a crew member from each team. It's a +1 shooting attack, and then at the end of the next turn there will be 2 of those made, and then 3 of those made the following turn, and then 3 every turn after that. So for Errooo's team, they're going to choose to have a falling rock hit at their trooper back here, +3 defense against +1, and he defends that. And then Smada's team will choose this sentry here, Also a +3 against +1, and he defends that. And at the start of the next turn, another Guardian of Light appears, this time by this portal. Again, inside the circle, since there are figures inside the circle. Initiative for the next round goes to Smada this time. And both crews are going to make use of a Healing Surge. Smada will use one on this Shangri-La, and Errooo will use one on the Lady Pathfinder. Both of those figures were down to 5 health and are now both up to 8. And for the Captain phase, Smada will use Inspiring on this Shangri-La. Needing an 8, he gets that. So that monkey is increased to +3 fight, and then Smada will just stand there next to that data loot for now. And then we'll go back here to Errooo. He'll activate with this trooper and start out by trying to fling him. Needing a 7, and he'll just let that fail. So with that failing, he will then just power move and move over here. And then the trooper, on a double move, half of 7.5 inches, 3 3/4 inches, can get him right there. And then over to Blinky's turn. He is going to go ahead and fire his Flamethrower one more time at this trooper. +2 against +2, and he hits with a 20 with +2 damage that ignores armor. And I forgot that trooper was wounded, so he actually had a +0 defense, but didn't really matter when he only had 3 health remaining. And then Blinky is going to run 5 inches over here, getting ready to retreat with whatever loot they can carry. And then to Sergeant Ruga's turn. He is going to single move 3.5 inches, and then power move another 1.5 inches, right over here by these rocks, bringing the Prospector with him, and then he will attempt a wall of force right behind him. Needing a 12, he gets exactly what he needs. So that wall shows up right behind him so that this Pathfinder and the Trophy Taker cannot shoot at them, and Ruga does take 1 point of strain, and we will go to the soldier phase. Smada's team will start out with this Shangri-La, double moving 9 inches over here, jumping over this, moving over, climbing over things is a free action. He won't be able to get close enough to this case cracker to stop him from getting off the board, but Smada's team has another strategy in mind. Next, their Trophy Taker is going to try to unlock this physical loot with his +3 will, and unlocks that. So he will take his physical loot and move 3 inches this direction on his single move, and then we'll go to this Pathfinder. He will just step forward a little bit, and from there take a hasty wide open shot at this sentry. +3 shot against +4 defense, and that misses. Then they'll have their sniper here attack this Repairbot, +3 against +0, and that ends up hitting with a total of 12 against 4, but deals 4 points of damage because Repairbots only have 8 armor. The sniper will choose to stay in combat, and then we'll go here to this sentry, who'll do a +3 attack against +2 defense. The pirate trooper wins the 9 against 4, but deals no damage. And then moving around the board, this medic with his physical loot will run 5 1/4 inches over here. He can't quite escape yet. And then over here, this sentry will pick up this data loot that's been sitting out here for most of the game, and he will run 5 inches over here, taking cover from this enemy trooper. At the front of the board, this bruiser could attack this sentry, but he wants to keep this sentry tied up, so he'll do nothing. But now over to Erroo's soldiers, the sentry will attack the bruiser. He has a +3 against the bruiser's +4. And the sentry ends up winning with a critical hit. And with that bruiser going down, this sentry is freed up to turn around and move into combat with this Shangri-La. Just to explain what their plan was going to be, was that Smada was going to use the command power on the Shangri-La on the next turn so that he could double move into combat with Ruga to try to slow him down, but that is not going to happen now that the Shangri-La is tied up in combat. And then their next soldier, this case cracker, can just barely get off the board on 4.5 inches. And then this sentry is going to fire his carbine at the wounded pirate. That's a +2 against +0. And the gun jams. The sentry goes ahead and throws his carbine on the ground, and runs around here into combat with the trooper. And then the Pathfinder here is going to run into combat and attack with support. +5 against +0, and he wins with a 13. So that only deals 2 damage to this pirate, and it had 3 health remaining, so he's still standing at 1. And then this Pathfinder here was considering running into combat, but doesn't end up wanting to be the target of a grenade. So instead, she is going to just run around here 7 inches and fire her carbine down here at this sentry who's got heavy cover. She wants to try to stop Smada's crew from stealing all the artifacts that the Prospector has recovered. That hasty shot is a +3 against a total of +7, and that is defended. And then this trooper will try to shoot him with a +4 against +7. And there's another jammed weapon. And then the trooper will use his second action to just clear the jam in his shotgun. And then over to Errooo's robots over here. This Repairbot will choose to just stay in combat with the sniper and do nothing. And then also doing nothing will be this sentry robot here, who's in combat with this Guardian of Light. However, he does still have to activate, which means he will take 2 points of damage for being in combat with that Guardian. And then we'll go ahead and go to that Guardian's turn. He will attack with a +4 against +3. And the sentry wins with a 20 against 16. And halving that damage causes 5 points of damage to that Guardian of Light, bringing him down to 7. And then this other Guardian of Light, the closest figure is this Pathfinder, but it can't get a clear shot from where it is. I guess it can see through the door, but it would need to move to gain line of sight. But I believe if it moves, it would move towards the nearest target. So I'll just say it runs into combat with her instead of shoots at her. And will attack with a +4 against +3. And it hits with a total of 19 against 10. And the Pathfinder's desire to stop that sentry ended up failing. And even with that healing surge she got, that is enough damage to take her down. And then we'll go to some pirates. This one here is wounded, and he will attack the sentry because the sentry has less health. +0 against +5. And the sentry barely wins with an 18 against 17. So after causing a lot of grief, this pirate finally goes down. And then over here, the last surviving pirate will attack +2 against +3. And the sentry wins with 21 against 15. And since the last remaining pirate trooper only had 6 health remaining, he goes down. And then at the end of the turn, each team has to select 2 figures now to receive +1 shooting attacks caused from falling debris. So Smada is going to go ahead and select this sentry here, and they'll also select Blinky. The sentry is a +3 defense, and he blocks that with a 12 against 7. And then Blinky has a +4 fight, but he ends up getting hit with a 17 against 11 armor. He takes 6 damage. So some rocks crumble around Blinky here and leave him wounded with just 3 health remaining. And then over to Errooo's team, he's going to have the sentry and the Pathfinder take hits. The sentry at +3, and he gets critical hitted by that. And then we'll go ahead and have the Pathfinder 3 against +1. And he also gets hit, a 19 against 9. After these two finally took down this pirate trooper, the roof just collapses on top of him. The Pathfinder ends up stunned, taking 9 damage, and the sentry ends up dead. Initiative for the next round goes to Errooo. And another Guardian of Light appears, this time right in front of this portal. And then going to Captain Errooo's turn, he is going to move and power move around here and attempt to fling this trooper over him towards the exit. Needing a 7, he failed by 1, so he will exert for 1. So that will fling him right over here, where he is stunned, but that will get him close enough to single move off the board on his next turn. And everybody's kind of in retreat mode now. So Smada will just grab this data loot and then move 5 inches over here towards the exit. And then we'll go to Sergeant Ruga. He will just dash, I guess you can call that, half move, which is 5 1/4 inches to right there with the Prospector. And then we'll go to this corner back here where Blinky will activate with this medic. He'll tell the medic to run for it. Then Blinky will stand up, pulling himself out of this pile of rubble, and he will run off the board. And to the soldier phase, Errooo soldiers are gonna do a whole lot of nothing for the most part. This sentry will just keep tying up this Shangri-La. This Repairbot will continue to tie up this sniper. This sentry will tie up this Guardian of Light. He does take 2 more points of damage though, putting him down to 2. This Pathfinder will climb out of this rubble and then run 7 inches down here. This trooper down here though, he's going to take one final shot at this sentry, +4 against +7 for heavy cover. And he ends up missing with a 20 to 25. He'll then run off the board, and then we'll go to Smada's soldier phase, where this sentry will also run off the board, securing this data loot. Then this sentry here is going to run over here behind this empty loot token, and then this Pathfinder is going to swing really wide away from this Guardian of Light over here into combat with this Repairbot. And then the sentry will attack with support, +5 against +0. And he wins with a 10 to a 6, but doesn't deal any damage. He will push himself 1 inch out of combat, and then run 6 inches this way. And then this Shangri-La over here will attack, +3 against +3. And the sentry wins with an 18 against 14, dealing 8 points of damage. And the healing surge that this Shangri-La used didn't end up mattering because he died in a single hit anyway. And then for their last soldier to go, this trophy taker can move 4.5 inches. Yes, kind of come around a bunch of terrain here to right there. And with all the bodies laying on the ground, I totally forgot that this trooper is still alive. He just got flung, he was stunned, so he will stand up and run off the board with that physical loot. And for the creature phase, just 3 Guardians of Light. I'll have this one here go ahead and attack the sentry, +4 against +3. And it wins with a 20 against 10, and that takes down the robot. Then this one here, he's close to this Pathfinder, but he can see this sentry, so he'll take a +3 shooting attack against +7 for heavy cover. And that is defended. And lastly, this one down here, I just realized it can see down here to Errooo, so it will make a +3 wide open shot against +4 defense. And Errooo barely defends that with a 17 to a 16. And at the end of this turn, 3 figures from each team are going to get hit by falling rock. So for Errooo, it'll be their Pathfinder, their Sentry, and their Repairbot. And then for Smada, it'll be their Pathfinder, their Sentry, and then I guess it'll be their Trophy Taker. These are all +1 attacks. Pathfinder +3. He ends up taking 7 points of damage. I had meant to use my healing surge on him at the start of the round, and I totally forgot to, so that unfortunately takes him down. Sentry's a +3 against shooting attacks, and that misses. Then the Repairbot +0 against +1, and he is also fine. Smada's Pathfinder at +4. The 16 ends up taking 6 damage. Their Sniper at +3. He ends up getting hit for 8 damage. So he is stunned. And their Sentry +3. He takes 2 points of damage. So that just bounces off him there. And at this point, I'll call the game. During the captain phase, Smada will be able to escape with that, as will the Trophy Taker. And then Ruga over here will be able to run off the board with the Last Prospector, which will end the game. So, after 10 battles, the crew of the Iron Golem has rescued the Last Prospector and returned him safely to his home planet. I'm not sure if the two crews will see another battle in future videos, but I'll go to the post-game wrap-up anyway. For survival roles, a few downed soldiers from the Iron Golem recovered just fine, but their temporary sentry was badly wounded, the green-hooded Pathfinder died to falling debris, and daughter Ryla, after destroying the pylon and allowing her team to get to the Prospector, ended up being shot and killed by a blast from one of the troopers. For the Negator, most of their downed crew members were fine, but their hacker was badly wounded from Erroo's Flamethrower, and their Shangri-La only survived a late-game brawl with the help of a reroll from their advanced medical suite, which has ended up being a really useful ship upgrade throughout this campaign, saving multiple soldiers from death. Erroo's team raked in the experience this battle, gaining 355, since the 300 per battle max is ignored for this scenario, and the captain learned Control Animal, while First Mate Ruga increased his will to +3 and improved the Coordinated Fire and Wall of Force powers. Without gaining any scenario-specific bonuses, Smada's team gained just 215 points, and the captain improved the Life Leech power, and Blinky improved Transport and increased his fight to +5. For rescuing the Prospector, the Iron Golem gains 2 rolls on the Alien Artifact table, and one of their physical loot also rolled for an artifact. But all 3 results were items that required a specific power to make use of, so the big score was kind of a letdown as they found some essentially useless items that were just sold. And their other physical loot got them some trade goods that they were able to sell as well. With the 2 physical and 2 data loot the Negator found, they got a Flamethrower of +1 damage, some expensive trading goods that sold for extra with their external cargo pods and successful haggle power, some information they sold and can keep to sell again at half price from their information broker power, and 2 doses of combat drugs to help them in future battles. I won't assign any equipment or make any hires or purchases at this time, rather I'll wait until a time in the future when I might decide to use these crews again to make those choices. Since this was the last battle in this campaign, no investigation or faction points are awarded at the end of it. And this brings my playthrough of the Last Prospector supplement to an end. I want to thank you for whichever parts of this series you've watched, and I especially want to thank those of you who started watching this campaign from the beginning back in July of 2022, waited through an 8-month break between battles 6 and 7, and finished up here in August of 2023. I'm glad if you've been getting value out of this content and have joined me through this journey to find and rescue the Last Prospector. I'm Alan with Bricks and Blocks Gaming. Thank you for watching, and until next time, play well.